All right, it's been a while since we've done one of these, but I thought we would need it today because we've got a few things to get caught up on. And so I want to just plow right into this, try to keep it reasonably short. We're asking ourselves some questions about urban areas and about cities. And so the question is, how do cities organize themselves? And to do that, we're going to take a look at three different city design models. There's going to be something called the concentric zone model. It's called the Burgess model, and you'll look at it, you'll think it looks like the von Thunen model. It's very similar in appearance. There's something called the sector model, also known as the Hoyt model, the multiple nuclei model as well. And we'll get to those three today. And each one of these has a different way of trying to show us how cities are designed. So let's go ahead and start with the Burgess model or the concentric zone model, which is one from 1925. You can see it looks like von Thunen, right? It's concentric circles, but the difference here is that with von Thunen you started with you're talking about rural land use and agriculture. With the Burgess model, you're talking about urban land use. So you're starting in the center. Instead of just a small town or village, you're talking about the central business district of a city, which again is the downtown area. So according to the Burgess model, cities have a downtown area, central business district, and then a little further out from downtown is where you would find some of the industrial areas where factories are, where things can be made. Not a lot of people live right by downtown because, again, factories are there and that's what's happening right there. A little bit further out, closer to the factories, though, is going to be lower cost housing. This will be for people who have less money, so it's your working class. Today we would refer to this area as the inner city. So you're still close to downtown. It's the central business district, a little bit of industry, and now you go to the lower class, the lower wage, lower income area of town. A little further out from downtown is the more middle class area, and then way out, the farther away you go, is the higher class, upper class, rich people. Today is probably what we'd consider a suburb. And so Burgess was looking at Chicago, which is right along Lake Michigan. So instead of being a complete circle, there would have been, a lake right about here. But he was saying there was a downtown area, then you saw a little bit of manufacturing, again, that lower cost, lower income housing, and you got progressively wealthier the further you got out of town because people could afford to transport themselves back into the city. So I think the Burgess model is pretty self-explanatory. I think it makes some certain amount of sense. I think it is the simplest of the three models, but just remember you're working from the central business district all the way out to where the wealthiest people in your city will live. Now the second one we're going to look at, I have this cat that has fallen asleep in his food bowl, and you can see I have a CBD on the kitty right there. This is going to be the central business district right here. You'll notice I have some numbers. This one I'm going to call this the sector model or the Hoyt model. And you can see that instead of just looking like a kitty, it kind of looks like that. But the Hoyt model assumes a couple of things as well. One, the center of the city is going to be the central business district, that downtown area, just like the Burgess model. But things get a little bit different with the Hoyt model. And so instead of being circles that go all the way around from downtown, the Hoyt model says that certain parts of town are divided up according to their function. In other words, what is it they do? So on here it's colored in red. This area would be where there would be factories or industry, or you could imagine there being transportation, really major roads and railroads to help deliver things that have been made. So this zone, people are going to be living there, but it can bring things from outside of the city into the central business district. Just like with the Burgess model as well, you're going to have the lower cost housing, the low income housing near the factories, the industry. Again, the land value is going to be cheaper because it's loud and it's possibly dangerous, and a lot of the rich people don't want to live there. So if you look at this, the green area outside of the red, this would be your lower income housing. And then the most stuff we see on here is this big purple section. This would be for, again, your middle class. I mean, you start at the downtown area, but you move your way out. You're not close to the industry, so it's not so loud. And then the rich section of town would be starting at the central business district straight out. This would be where you'd have a lot of big houses, rich people, all of those kinds of things. Today, think of it more as the modern suburb. The Hoyt model is a little bit newer than the Burgess model. This one's in the 1930s. But another way of looking at the Hoyt model is to look at it this way, just as I was saying here, central business district, right, in the middle, industry and transportation over here, the working class with the lower income housing right around downtown, middle class, and the high income folks on the other side. Our last model we'll look at today is the multiple nuclei model, and we can get really drawn into this one. This is something designed by Harris and Ullman. It comes in the 1940s, and it's assuming that cities have changed. And by the 1940s, enough people have cars that they no longer have to live as close to the central business district as they once did, and that will change some things. I'm not going to go through all of these sections here, but I want you to get the key point. And the key point is that each part of town has a separate function. So again, there will still be a central business district, right, where most of the downtown area happens. But now, instead of it being a circle or just one zone, you see other parts, other things scattered throughout the town. So we have the rich folks are now all the way out here. Excuse me. The rich folks are all the way out here. We've got more middle class houses here, and since they're so far away, they don't necessarily need to drive to the central business district, so they've created another business district, like a little office park or a downtown area of some of the suburbs. So this one says that there's too much going on. Cities aren't as simple as they could be. So this one is way a little bit further out. So if you want to take a look at this, you can. But I think that what's important to note is that in this one, more than the other ones, things are separated by function, but they're also separated by space. So there's more things going on. Another way of looking at it is this numbered system here. You can look at that if you want to and take a look at it. A lot of folks really like the multiple nuclei model because it allows for cities to grow, and it allows for different business districts to take over, so it's no longer just downtown. That's all I want to go into today. I know there's more that we could do, but please pay attention to this. I would go back, take a couple of notes over what you saw, maybe watch this again. The Burgess model, the sector model, and the multiple nuclei model, so that we know how cities are set up. Also, the question for today, what do you think Des Moines and the Des Moines area is? Do you think it fits into one of these pretty well based on your experience? And so I'll have that question for you, but if you want to go back and take a look at it, this is what we have. So I will talk to you next week.